the history. So run that back.
Okay.
From the fish stand, from the stand down the quarter of a mile away.
Right. So story goes like this. 1956, grandfather opened a small corner shop. It was about 200 square feet, selling seafood out of 2 stainless steel ice chests. My dad and his best friend, Tommy Moftana. Henry is my dad. Mackie was my grandfather who founded it. He's like, my grandfather basically said, hey guys, look,
where were they from originally, by the way?
Well, they all grew up here in Pedro, but their original families are from Italy.
Okay.
So they're kind of family because if you go all the way back to Ischia, which is an island near Capri off the coast of Naples, which most of this town is from on the Italian side.
I saw the little Italy when I was driving up.
Yeah, so those families go back generations, where their great-great-grandmothers are sitting at the same table drinking and eating food, seafood.
Yeah.
So the families came here to fish. Right, because if you look at the coastline here, like from Pedro all the way through Palos Verdes, it looks just like the Amalfi coastline. And also looks a lot like the Adriatic, where a lot of people came here from Croatia for the same reason.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of Italian, Croatian, some Greek. It's changed a lot, people are out of that industry, it's not the same anymore, but that's the foundation of how we got into seafood.
Right.
So, they're 15, and the grandfather's like, you guys, here's your choice. I'll pay for you to go to school, or you can work. And they didn't like school, so they worked. And they turned it into a pretty lucrative business with all their buddies working there.
Just them without Mackie? Was he hands off but watching the scene directing?
I got the impression he wasn't doing a whole lot because he had other ventures, and then he got involved. Right, he got involved because they had the opportunity to move it down here, which is about 100 yards that way, which is now where Krusty Krab is, which we also own and operate. They came down here. Tommy was probably, from all the stories I've heard, the one that was really gung-ho, like at high school career day, go around the room asking everybody what they want to do at age 15, 16, 17, and his was, I want to have the biggest fish market in town.
Dude, conviction, knowing what you want to do,
so now,
vision.
At 78 years old, he's achieved that goal, and he's taken care of a lot of families, not just ours, but we got a lot of families that worked for us for 30, 40 years.
Right.
So eventually moves down here, takes over an area called Norm's Landing, about 100 yards that way.
Was that a store? What kind of
Norm's Landing? So Norm's Landing was here before this whole area was developed, and it was a small fish market where they sold bait to the fishermen. Okay. They had shrimp cocktails, and it had a seafood case. And over the years, what my dad and my grandfather and Tommy did was they innovated. They started doing smoked seafood. That became a big thing. Actually, it became really big. That's probably what helped fund the building of the building we're in now at the time. They did live crab and lobsters. They would steam them for you, corn on the cob, shrimp cocktails. So those were kind of the big things. And then the area was under redevelopment, and they had a situation where they had to move, and they were able to obtain the space we're in now. So they built this place, and at the time when it was done, I think this building is like 10,000 square feet. Okay. The patio wasn't quite the size it is now. It had seating for about 300. The dining room, which we're sitting in here, was the first time we got into like food service. Like actually cooking food with waiters and waitresses.
This actual dining room?
Yeah, this is the actual dining room. Opened on Good Friday in 1982.
Wow.
The first time we had a kitchen, and the kitchen did more like a walk-up fast food counter, clam chowder, fish and chips, calamari, all stuff we still sell today. Hasn't really changed much. But like I mentioned, when that happened in 1982, that was the last time we had a major El Nino. So as a result of that, there was no customers because the seating was outside in the rain. So everybody mortgaged their home, they got into debt, and there was no customers. So Tommy and my dad, my grandfather, they had to innovate to figure out what can we do. And they started to look at things like, what if we charge $1 to have people cook the fish here, and we'll build some barbecues outside, which eventually became the barbecue that we're having our food cooked in. And then they had the idea of doing fajitas. Fajitas started coming around in local restaurants. You go down to, what was El Paso Cantina, and then Acapulco's, they're all gone now.
El Torito,
right. Yeah. They were serving this thing called fajitas, a steak and chicken fajita. And we're like, we could do that with seafood. So we created basically like a fajita tray, and these things just became big hits. And then as people...
One of a kind, essentially.
As it became more and more popular, we started innovating. Like, well, let's add a loaf of garlic bread. Why does it have to be tortillas? And let's do red potatoes like they did on the East Coast. And we'll just do a big tray of red potatoes. We've got the steamers. We can cook them. At the time, that's how we did it. And people wanted more customization. Hey, can I add this to my tray? Can I add that to my tray? So like, yeah, pick out anything you want. Make a tray out of it. And eventually that just became our staple. And we call it the world famous shrimp tray because, like I mentioned before, I do about 200 tons of shrimp, and it all goes into these trays. But people are customizing more and more and more and more. It was really interesting during COVID when we got shut down. We had to figure out, okay, we have this long line now because we have outdoor seating we can open, but we can only let people in 6 at a time. So we have to figure out how to move them fast. And
Space them properly,
what we found out is after 30 years, well, what did you come here for today? They didn't know. Well, I saw you on the internet. I heard you were open. I saw these trays. People didn't understand. Well, you could go to the fish market where we went and buy your own stuff. Or there's 4 other places in here where you could just get a pre-made tray. Or you can go up and just buy fish and chips. Or you can get, like, we had created all these different point of sale areas to handle the crowds, but we took for granted that the customers understood what they were.
Yeah.
So as we're letting people in 6 at a time, it occurred to us, we have to do better customer service and actually tell people how to order. After 30 some years, we didn't know. So COVID actually forced us to change our service model. And you'll notice the guy with the megaphone outside is telling people, when I let you in, this is how it works. Because we're short.
I yelling, but I wasn't hearing what he was saying.
Well, that's what he was saying, because we're short-handed on hosts and labor. So we're trying to do our best to guide people through efficiently. So we can get them their food, get them to sit down. We don't force anyone to leave, because our draw is about 100 miles. So more like a tourist attraction. So if you're going to drive 100 miles... I was
coming from the San Fernando Valley, literally.
You're going to drive that far and wait in the line an hour to get in. The last thing we're going to do is push you to leave. So
come on,
we got to figure out how to... we got to figure out how do we make it worth your time without you feeling pressured. And we also know that the majority of people in that line are families of 6 people or more, usually 2 or 3 generations.
Big time.
So we can't operate like a regular restaurant.
It is an event when you come here. It is an event.
It's an experience. It's an event, and that's why we've become really successful. We don't force people to leave. If we let too many people in, the customers will pressure people to leave by standing over their table. We don't want that either, because that doesn't go well. So, we've been paying attention, listening to our customer base, and figuring all that out. Okay, you want to go with me on this part?
Okay. Do the stuff, right?
Yeah, be cool.
Yes. All right, we are going to pick up the tray. Let's see what this is.
Can you watch that table? I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
No, whatever.
That's real slippery. Let's not go. I don't have my worksheet on.
This is truly an experience in here.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, of course.
Oh. Yeah, you want a little bit small. You can do 2.
Wow.
All right, cool. So we need, let's just carry this over and I'll take care of plates and stuff.